Right now we will start with Dan Bogos. He will talk about CGRateS and especially how to do LCR, discourse routing, in real time with CGRateS and of course with a bit of help from OpenSIPS.
Most of the help, so not only a bit. So, hello everybody. Can you hear me behind? Is the microphone on? Everybody confirming?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. So, my name is Dan Bogos. I'm part of the CGRateS development team. I was there from the beginning, so I'm here today to talk about some new stuff we have developed over the last month. So it's pretty hot and new topic. And yeah, I'll be able to also answer if you have questions later. A bit about company, otherwise they don't pay for our trip. We are located in Bavaria, in Germany. Company started in 2007. We were doing platform implementation for wholesale as well as retail VoIP, and in time we got quite some understanding about real-time processing and what means a live system outage. CGRateS came out of our need of implementing a billing system in a scalable way and in a flexible as well. We had some specific requirements. It needed to be pluggable into existing infrastructure, so people should not change their existing way of living just for us. And it should also be able to easily accommodate new components in the future, so it should be future-proof. One more thing which we wanted to have was to be non-intrusive into existing setups. So we should not force people routing their traffic through our platform. This is the tricky bit, because you need to exchange a lot of information with a switch, and most probably the reason why others are not doing it. But we wanted to have a proper system, so this is why we started our own. Everything what we do is open source. It's important for us that we don't have any private repositories with add-ons to sell commercially. We believe in open source. And therefore we publish everything on GitHub. When we don't publish, we feel quite insecure, because we find our community as a very good quality assurance for the project as well. We have also serious consideration for community and their contribution, so we get respect for that. The project, the software, it's performance-oriented, so you will find or you will hear about not the speed of OpenSIPS, because everybody knows that OpenSIPS is the fastest, but speeds which are going close. On billing and being not a C-written software, it's harder to achieve these speeds, but we in our labs we have tested sometimes 5,000 requests per second in billing environment, which is kind of good. The whole software is written in Golang. We started with Go, and we started with the project in 2011, where Go was in weekly release, so we got quite some history with Go evolution together or in parallel with CGRateS evolution. Looking back, we are very happy that we have taken that decision and that risk. The whole thing, it's having behind an advanced caching system written by us. So we got their transactions, we got their LIU support for list record use for the ones not being aware about that. So the data stays in memory only as long as it's hot. So if it's not used, then it's automatically expired by the caching system. We also have TTL, so if you don't use it for a specific time, we also burn it out. Everything what we do is asynchronous, and we do that within some what Go is calling microthreads. So it's another layer on top of system threads. So the advantage of that would be that you can have way more than the system threads allow you to do. So you can consider maybe millions of microthreads. The secret in the keeping the core development small is in our tests. So we got about 4,000 tests today, actually more than that, which are run when we do our commits. Also Travis, it's if you are familiar with Travis, it's monitoring our commits. So we try to keep that the light always green. About the architecture is modular. So each logical component, we call it a subsystem, and each logical component can run standalone. So due to that, you can spread out the CGRateS infrastructure on any number of servers you need. So you can scale up horizontally when you need that. All the functionality is exposed through APIs. We say even when CGRateS breeds, it does it through an API, because APIs for us are a bit abstracted in the code. We don't see whether we are communicating internally in process or outside when we communicate. So everything should be cloud ready, and it should be also easy to enhance specific components by rewriting them. So you don't like our CDR server, you just take it out, you write it yourself. So if you want to do that, I don't know, write it in C. If you think it's faster, then you're welcome to do so. It's feature rich, so we got anything we could think of inside. So it's what people are calling online or offline charging system. We got multi-tenancy, rating engine. This is the oldest component which we have with some derived charging, and A number rating becomes a hot topic here in Europe. Account balances management, so we keep these bundles. Session or event charging with balance reservation and refunds. So if you are a company providing prepaid accounts with bundles of data, SMSs, voice, all these are inside. We have also plugins, or what we call agents, into most major open source VoIP systems out there. CDR server, fraud detection with automatic mitigation. So there are a lot of ways and flexible ways to do that. LCR, which I will talk about it, with QoS support, so you can have LCR routing based on quality measurement, and not only RTP quality or something, but also billing quality. Also LCR over bundles, so if your suppliers are offering you bundles which are valid over weekend or something, the LCR system, it's smart enough to take this into consideration until they are used totally or they expire. Event stats server, pretty advanced over there as well. Diameter or radius server implementation with some process templates. So doing that, you can become standard agnostic. And resource allocation controller, so you can supervise channels per destination, per customer, per whatever you want. It has built-in high availability support, so we at connection level, we are able to fall back between various connections, and we are driving the project out of passion, so we are pretty agile in developing new features. If you have any idea, just don't hesitate to come with it to us. A bit about the history. As you can see, we started pushing on GitHub sometimes early 2012, and we were growing our code base ever since. And this does not show only that we have a passion for growing our code source, but also that the functionality was added, because we are also careful in keeping the code base as small as possible. The contributions over years were pretty stable. I mean, not close to zero, so it was always an active to very active project. And we plan to do this going forward as well. Just some overview of our subsystems, how they work together. You can see here at the bottom some agents which are communicating outside. So you can see diameter or radius or asterisk, phase switch, Camaillio, or OpenSIPS. OpenSIPS has the advantage of doing in their dedicated module, so it should be more easier for you to configure it and more user-friendly. They all send requests to our sessions component, where sessions are monitored, and when the session is done, it's being sent to, it's packed up and sent to CDR server, and this will send to various components, for example, attributes to alias data inside, or derive it, make from one session, you can make as many CDRs you like. This is very useful functionality because you might like to charge your customer and also your supplier, so you can see your revenue in real time, or you might like to charge also the customers of your distributor as well as your distributors. So you can charge as many people in this chain as you like. And then after billing, sending it to stats, monitoring everything via thresholds. So you can see all these are standalone daemons, which can be within the same process or outside, so in different processes. And then you can, once you are processing the CDR within the CGRateS infrastructure, then you can export it out. You can send it via HTTP or RabbitMQ to your server. So doing this, you can obtain what we call rating queue. So you don't longer need to store the CDRs in CGRateS. You can store them on your side. Few milliseconds after OpenSIPS is delivering the CDR, you have the CDR on your side already rated, which is kind of cool because you can continue using the existing billing system which you have today. As online charging system, some example of use would be the rating, which is highly configurable. You get all sorts. You can, if you want to charge every nanosecond differently in a call, you can achieve that. I don't know who is brave enough to do it. And but still, some people were interested about millisecond support, so that should be no issue. Derived charging is what I told you about, this session forking. Regarding accounts, you can have unlimited balances and combinations in these bundles. Voice data, SMS, MMS, monetary, you can give money per destination and all other stuff. You can have concurrent sessions handling. This is done with reserving the balance in chunks of debit intervals. So every 10 seconds or every 5 seconds, you reserve an amount of money. So if you have like 1,000 calls out of the same account, as soon as the account gets emptied, all 1,000 will disconnect. So you should be able to handle multiple calls in this way. And we are also able to do refunds in the end. So this is also can be a complex process, because it could be that you are taking during the call out of some minutes bundle or some monetary bundle, and you need to know to refund it in that bundle. And we also are able to do debit slip. So even if you put like 5 seconds or 10 seconds debit, we can detect that you're charging per minute and slip the rest of interval. Centralized CDR server is doing this, what I call online exports. And you can also import generically your CDRs. So if you're receiving CDRs from your suppliers like CSVs or XML or whatever, you can import them in parallel while you are running your online billing with OpenSIPS, and then you can have all the CDRs calculated in one place and then maybe export them outside. A bit about some new modules we have developed in the last 1 year. Attributes should be able to personalize the request with stored attributes which you define. This is also a component of the topic which I'm discussing today about the number portability, because it's able to replace information. So it's able to see in your requests and replace what you have with what you configure inside, and that's before rating. There are generic filters, so you can match any field in your request. You simply send a hash map to CGRateS, and then we don't need to know the insides, so we don't need to hard code anymore the elements of your CDRs. You just need to make sure that what you send as input matches what you put in filters, and this gives the flexibility, and also you can implement more features without integrating code inside the CGRateS engine. Then you can add or replace event fields via attributes. So sending the CDR to the engine, you can add, for example, the billing address of your customer, or his PayPal address for later, I don't know. These things are possible via the attributes. And you can see attributes like an attribute value store, so it can be unlimited in size, and it's something like radius or diameter or LDAP is doing, like putting many properties in one place. It's also done, or it knows the concept of context-based aliasing. This is done by hooking some tags into the code, so you know that you will be replacing at that point inside your events. So we have right now two different hooks. One is in sessions, so we replace data during the session or during the CDR. So these are different levels when you can replace. Some other ideas would be in the future to replace on export only, so you can have this internationalization of the request. If you want to change the destination name based on your user, where is he located, then you can do that. So that should be also the task of attributes. Resources, it's another subsystem. It's monitoring resources, accepting again generic hash maps, so it's up to you what you put inside, and you can have match for multiple profiles. This is interesting if you have, let's say, channels for Dutch destination and channels for Europe. So you can monitor Netherlands inside Europe as well. So whoever has enough channels will allow the call to go through. You have some lifespans for the rules. You have activation intervals, so you can maybe attach the resources based on your contracts. Maybe in the future, if you start your contract with 1st of the month, you can also you can give also the resources starting 1st of the month. And there is also some auto expiry. This is a mechanism to prevent stale sessions. So if you start monitoring channels and the session stays stale in the switch, you can, however, release automatically via this auto expiry in the resources. And it has this resources subsystem has integration with thresholds, so you can use it for maybe fraud detection, in case of, I don't know, your user should not go close to 90% of the channels used overnight maybe. It's clearly a sign of hack or something. The stats, these are able to compute stats in real time for generic events. It's again a standalone system, it's performance oriented, so all the stats are in memory. I've met systems which were giving out ASR after 10-15 minutes after you were hitting the generate stats button. In case of CGRateS, since everything is in memory, you have them access to them in real time when you need them. So as soon as you query the API, you will get an instance of those stats. Being in memory, you can have as many, I don't know, millions of instances as you like, because they don't take almost no resources to stay there. And you can also monitor them and react on them in real time. So again, due to the integration with thresholds, you can monitor, I don't know, your customer for the last 5 minutes, last 1 hour, last 1 day, last 1 week, whatever you want to put, because one CDR will update all of the stats matching the filters. You have also asynchronous data backup in all of offline storage, so if you restart CGRateS, these stats will survive, because they are stored offline if you configure them. You can also, if it makes no sense to have like minute stats backed up in the database, you don't need to do that. You have, again, activation interval, so based on your contracts. A lot of configurations, like how many CDRs will be in a stats sample, then again, auto-expiring of the stats, metrics, different metrics, or blocker flag to stop when we meet a specific stats queue. As metrics, you can calculate today ASR, this average success ratio, if you know about it, ACD, average call duration, ACC, what we call average call cost, TCC, total call cost, total call duration, PDD, and there is also a generic way to do sums and also average. So you choose your own field and you say, I want to have the sum of this sample for the last 1 hour, or I want to do the average of this field, for example, the duration for the last 1 hour. Just some sample API in order to understand stats. As I told, CGRateS has no other interface than the APIs. We have console, command line interface, but everything it's accessed through such APIs. This is a sample of JSON API, and you can see how this looks like. Sorry. Suppliers is again standalone service, is tightly integrated with accounting if you want to provide bundles or traffic patterns, and it has many sorting strategies. Thresholds is to monitor everything. If you are doing, for example, fraud mitigation, it's like our internal NMS. And if you are doing fraud mitigation, you can monitor accounts or you can monitor various parts of the system. Regarding OpenSIPS integration, prior to OpenSIPS 2.3, we were using a bunch of modules. After OpenSIPS 2.3, we got a new way of this native CGRateS module. And after OpenSIPS 2.4, we got a new way, like integrating a more powerful APIs for more modules. Again, thanks to OpenSIPS core developers, because they were really professionals on this. Module configuration and scripting, it's pretty straightforward. You have 2 different or 3 different methods, so nothing fancy. And you can also do generic RPC calls. And coming to LCR with number portability, we use 3 different subsystems. First would be the attributes, and the catch there is to replace the destination number with the provider code. So the call comes in, we map the destination number into provider code, and we replace that. So when the call goes to rating, we will rate the provider code. The suppliers will then just retrieve the list of suppliers sorted by cost, and you can feed them into the OpenSIPS module of your choice. For example, tomorrow I'll do a demo on carriers integration. So you feed the computed stats sorted already into carriers, and then you just use them like that via dynamic routing module. Some sample of setting the attribute profile. You see here it will replace the it will match the specific number and replace it with provider ID. And we did this recently for a provider here in Netherlands, and they had access to a database of 20 million ported numbers, and we were able to do this in real time. So we were importing the full database of Netherlands ported numbers into CGRateS, and the answer and all this replacement was in real time, and also get suppliers was, I think, a few milliseconds later. So this is quite an achievement, and we are proud of this because of where we index things. So this is a sample of suppliers. You see, you get the sorted suppliers back. You get their cost. These ones, for example, they are sharing the same cost but different weight. So this is what you get out of this combination of attributes and suppliers. So I try to do as fast as possible.
You did great.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you very much, Dan. Any questions for Dan? Yes, the lovely gentleman over there.
The lovely dude.
Well, Dan?
Yes, sorry.
No, good.
Capture my attention.
Do you have any way of getting the events out of CGRate on real time, not only by the end of the calls? So
Yeah. So stats are able to export, not stats, sorry, sessions are able to export session start, session end in real time to, for example, thresholds. So you can configure your own threshold server, and then you get the events. But otherwise, you can use your, I don't know what's your particular use case, but OpenSIPS already does that. So
yeah, so if I use it inside OpenSIP, I will just grab it from inside the script level and just publish the
that's
event
more
from
work.
there.
Yeah, because normally when you send it to CGRate, then it's one more point of processing. So it depends on your own business case.
Yeah.
But we do have, yeah.
Thank you. We have time for only one short question, if there is.
I have a question. Can you get off the stage? No.
That's not a question.
No, the answer is no.
Okay.
I like the.
Okay. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you very much.